everybody. So I got kind of a smorgasbord of stuff in this video today. The main focus is Kayleena's Baguette, which tons of you guys bought, hundreds of you bought, and we've seen a ton of cool versions. Everyone wants a zipper version. I designed a zipper, so now it's a full collaboration between me and Kayleena. I designed the zipper part, and you open it, and it opens up nice and wide. If you've bought the pattern already, we're going to update this today. We're filming it in advance, obviously, but this is the pattern that you're going to need to put a zipper in. So I have everything cut out. I did this all yesterday to make another bag very simply, but to show you how to do, we're going to do a few things. We're going to do DIY bag feet like this, just some stacked leather with rivets if you don't have bag feet. We're going to do a zipper install. We have a full video on this, but I'll give you kind of a short version of it. And then I'm going to show you how to install the zipper top into the bag, because it looks really complicated, but it's not really complicated at all. I have glued two pieces of like 6 ounce leather together, so it's about 12 ounces. Now you can do this two ways. I have this cool punch from KS Blade, and it's a washer punch. So it has, this part pops off and it has an O-ring. So it's two punches together and it perfectly centers it. So what I can do is punch through and then pull this off, and you have a nice, perfectly centered washer there. But what you can also do, what we've done for years, we just got this, I didn't even know these were a thing. You can just get a 1/2 inch punch and then punch a little hole in the middle and make your own washers. But I do suggest gluing a couple pieces together so that they're just automatically centered there, because if you stack a few and then try to rivet them, in my experience, they kind of move around and don't look so great. Make sure this is facing the right direction. We'll pop that in. So I'm just going to kind of roughly install all of these, and then we'll go to the press and we will fully install them. And then we're good for bag feet. So I do prefer regular like solid brass bag feet. Those are definitely stronger, and for a very like a heavy duty, like a duffel bag, I probably wouldn't do this. But this is like a little 9-inch purse. You're not going to be putting a lot of weight in it. These will last just fine. I've made plenty of bags over the years with these, and they don't crush or they don't do anything like that. We're going to need a hand setter to install this too, but this is the kind of cool thing. You just take, we did the video on it, but I've been using this so much. It's such an asset to be able to switch from hand setter to press with the same tool. It's like this, I swear it affected the way I designed this pattern, but basically all we're going to do now is just pop that in there. That one's set. Get that one set. There we go. Now we have 4 nice bag feet. Actually, we really like the little stacked leather look. I think that looks really cool. The expansion to the baguette pattern includes 2 pieces. It's one sheet. It includes this piece and this piece. This is where you're going to install your zipper. This comes in 2 pieces. You want to line up the 2 dotted lines and overlap a 1/2 inch on either side. So you want the dotted lines, that's the center mark. Then this part, you need to cut out 2 of these. So you can see here, I have this part glued together, or stuck together, traced out, cut out. This is where we're going to put our zipper. And then I've cut 2 of these. Now, first thing we need to do, center marks are going to be very important on these because we're going to pre-punch everything to line up with the center marks. So we want to mark a little center line here, and mark a little center line here on both of these. And you're not going to ever be able to see this, so it's okay that we're marking it. Do the same thing here. So make sure you're lined up nicely. Center mark there. Center mark here. So we buy this zipper tape without any zipper end on it. Buckle Guy sells tons of different pulls you can get. All we're going to do is crack that open. You want the little teeth to be pointing down, and then it's as easy as sliding this on and making sure they are even-ish. If you're off by a tooth, it's really no big deal. There we go. This is a symmetrical piece, so it doesn't matter which side you go on for any of this. I'm going to use double stick tape. This is called Ted's tape from Buckle Guy, and I like this a little better. We used to use basting tape. This has a little bit of like a fabric in it, like it's got some strength to it. So we've been really enjoying using this. And we're just gonna stick this down on both sides. So we have our double stick tape unstuck, and I like to use the double stick tape so you can kind of, if you don't get things centered, you can kind of pull it up and reposition it and stuff. So all we have to do now is just flip it over and stick it. So all we have to do is punch and sew around this. That's pretty much all there is to sewing in a zipper. It can seem daunting, but it's really not that hard at all. Once our zipper is sewn in, we have to sew the wings onto the zipper piece. Now, this is how this is going to work, right? We're just doing a basic double seam. So if you've made the baguette, we're doing this seam again, but we're doing it on the top here. So we're going to be...
I can't get over this light. It's so shadowy.
It's just really nice.
Well, it's wicked shadowy from a direction that it never is.
Oh, one of my cars is parked over that way instead of right there.
Move your hand.
And we're getting a big glare from the blazer window. So anyway, the tops of these strips are going to be sewn here, right? So I've pre-punched this, and all you have to do is pre-punch the tops of these. You don't have to do any counting or anything like that. The stitch counting comes on the bottom piece. We're going to count stitches here, and we're going to count stitches here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this piece punched out. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So when I punched, I did just a single piece of leather for my panel. I took my 2-prong chisel and I hung it over and I made my first stitch. So I know that if I take my chisel and I hang it over and get my first stitch and then I punch all the way down, this is going to match up perfectly with these stitch holes. So we're going to do that for both of these pieces first. Then I'm going to show you how to count your stitches on this piece because we're going to be sewing this to the inside of this. So when we flip it up, we get leather on the front and the side. Now it's going to be a little hard to show you because this is only 1.5 inches wide here, but we're going to do our best to show you how everything looks while we're doing it and what the finished result looks like, using a comparison so you can kind of get it. This curve is gentle enough that I'm using a 5-prong 5mm spacing. You don't have to do this whole thing with a 2-prong. So this is the most confusing part, but it's not that confusing. We need to punch this curve with the same amount of stitching lined up in the right way as we punch on this curve, which is a different curve. This is how I do it. We marked our center lines. I'm going to use a 5-prong. I'm using 5mm. You can use whatever millimeter you want. I'm going to put 1 prong at the center, right? Then I'm going to count outwards. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to stop there because we're going to run into this stitch line if we go any further. Then I'm going to come up here. Remember, we're at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we're going to run in up there. So, 10 punches. Now, I know what you're saying, Eric. One of them was an extra stitch, and that's fine, because if we do that for all of them, if we know that our first punch is 5 holes and every other one is 4, it doesn't matter how many stitches we have. That's 1. We're catching this. We know it's actually going to be, I don't know, 10 times 4 plus 5, or 9 times 4 plus 5. But that's okay. So, 2.
Sound like my kids.
3.
Mom, what's 7 plus 4?
4, 5. Okay? Then we come back here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's all punched. Now we're going to go over to our gusset piece, mark our stitch line. I could have sworn we marked the center line, but it disappeared, so we'll just remark that. Center line goes there. And we're going to do the same thing. Put our one prong in the middle. 1. 10. Now we know, we'll do that for the other one too, but we're going to start sewing right here, and we know that even though we're going to have to distort all this stuff, we have exactly the same amount of stitches here and here, and they're all centered on the center line of this whole bag. So to set this up for sewing, we don't have to line up anything from the center. All we have to do, because we know that everything is centered, is remember we're stitching the bottom to the bottom. Then the top is going to be stitched to the main body. I'm just going to flip this over. We're just going to start from left and go from left to right, and you can use a little clippy guy if it helps you. I always do. And then we just kind of stitch. That's it. Now again, if you want to glue this, go for it. I don't use a lot of glue on this part at all, simply because it's much easier. And with all of the bending and twisting and tension and stuff, the finished product, you can't tell whether you can't tell the difference between a glued one and a not glued one. So this is all I'm going to do. We know we have enough. We know we have the right amount of holes. We know they're centered. All that's left is to kind of stitch everything up. It's kind of nice to do it this way because you can shut your brain off and you know everything's going to line up. So we just sew these two together, then we flip this up and sew this to that, and we're on our way to finishing up the bag. So once we have these pieces all sewn in, you can see we're starting to get our shape here. And the nice thing is, since we pre-punched everything, the next step is to just kind of post this up here. You can glue this if you want, if you're confident in your stitch holes. I'm just going to use a little clippy guy. And the next step, there's not much to show you on video. I'm just going to sew this, and then I'll show you how I attach this second one, because it does get a little complicated here. Once you get to this point, it's like, okay, there's a lot going on. But I'm just going to kind of do more stitching. So remember, you're going to sew this and sew this, remember, and we pre-punched everything. Then we're going to go in, we're going to line that up, and we're just going to stitch this whole thing. Alright, so we're starting to look like a bag here. You can see we have this whole seam sewn up. Now we just have to do the same thing on this side, but it's going to feel weird because you got a lot of stuff going on. Right, so I'm going to go again from left to right, and since we punched the front of each side, it doesn't really matter what side you sew from. And I'm just going to use my one alligator clip again. That's all that I use pretty much. And just start to sew. And again, I'm going to save you the footage here. I like to go in that first hole that's already looped around with the stitch there that I did off camera, so that we don't have any, you see a nice clean stitch line when the whole piece is done. At this point though, it does tend to get snagged a little bit. And just make sure that's about even. And from there we just, again, have an easy line. We're just going to stitch across the whole thing. Now once this is in, you've pretty much done everything that's different from making this pattern without the zipper, except for these the tail ends. You could cut these off if you wanted to, but what I did was I made them so that they fold down, and where the rivets in the gusset are to attach the handle, they lock in the ends. So I'm going to sew this up and get this glued in, and I probably won't narrate that, I'll just do it because it's in the last video. But then I'll show you how to rivet everything in so that everything kind of locks together in a really nice way. So the last step, you remember there are little holes on the tails of this pattern. We're going to take our double cap rivet, or whatever type of rivet you want to use, and we're going to put the rivet through there, Then we're going to put it through the hole like that. And then we're going to attach our buckle on one side. Now I'm going to set these with the hand setter. I find it a little more, I have a little more control when I do it like that. But I'm going to make sure that I put both of these rivets in first before I set them. So that we know it's like kind of centered. Like that. I put the rivet setter back in the hand, so in the base in the hand tool, because it allows you to get in here and set these. This is really the only time that you can do it. So we got one set. And go slow with this. This is very, it's not very awkward, but it's not the easiest thing in the world. There we go. We're set there. And then we're just going to do that on the other side as well, with just the handle attachment. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put one in, cap it off, and then put the other one in and cap it off, so we make sure we're fairly centered when we set these. It's a good way to do it if you don't have three hands. So you can see how we have the two rivets here. I'm set up on the back one, so I'm just going to go in and clamp that down like that. And this bag can fall back, that's fine. We just want to make sure that the rivet stays in the cup. And it feels a little weird, but it does the trick. We'll get the rivet in that one. And here we go. So this is how you add a zipper to Kayleena's baguette design. It stays thin, but it opens nice and wide. It takes a little time to break in, of course. And then on this pull tab, I'll add a leather tab after that. But nice, simple design, fairly easy to do. And we also have our leather bag feet. If you don't have any bag feet, just some stacked leather and some rivets. Get you some bag feet. So thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, if you've already bought the pattern, check your email because we're going to send out the update today that will include this for free. And if you want to check out the pattern, it'll be second link in the description. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next one.